All right, we are switching to something different, and right now we have with us Dr. Vincent Nwani, who is a business and investment consultant, as well as a former bank examiner, Bandele Olusegun. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining us this morning.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Okay, so the news making the rounds is that loan defaulters will lose their deposits in other banks. Please help us understand what's that about.
Well, I think it's another extended effort by the regulator, the central bank, to at least enforce the moral side of willingness to pay back debt. 2 years ago or so, we made some progress from the side of the legislatures. The Senate and the House of Assembly passed two important laws, asset registry law and the movable asset law. These are to ensure that banks can easily lend their money to SMEs and MSMEs, and increase lending to the real sector as well. But after 2 years, of course, at present, we have not really made progress in terms of the impact of this law. So in extension, the current CBN governor have been pro-growth, pro-development, and it's in his own wisdom and the wisdom of the bankers committee, they came up, it's okay if you have borrowed money from Bank A and refuse to pay for one reason or the other, your deposit in Bank B or Bank C or Bank X will compensate for that. And even if you have borrowed money from even Bank A in account A and you didn't pay, of course, so in a particular bank, your debt liability can be net off. So they decide to now maybe extend this policy to other banks just to deal with the moral challenge, because they find out that a lot of Nigerians take loans and they have money and they will never pay. Remember the issue of AMCON? About a week ago, we heard about that over 3 trillion naira is owned by just 12,000 Nigerians. Most of these guys they have money well connected, even up to authorities. So it is a good measure, as far as I'm concerned, to deal with the moral issue around debt and debt collection.
Just briefly, now you talked about a lot of Nigerians not repaying the loan. I mean, this perhaps is very prevalent. But don't you think the interest rate perhaps is responsible for this, maybe?
A lot of things are responsible. Interest rate is high. A moratorium is not there. You collect loan today and you start paying back in the next 30 days, for an agricultural project that takes a year, sometimes 5 years to even crystallize before you start earning income. So a lot of things are involved, but not just interest rate, not just the condition of the loan, but other, can I say, externalities that even the borrower cannot control. Some are macroeconomic, some are environmental. Look at the foreign exchange issue we had.
Dr. Nwani, you're talking about now. But let me take this up with Mr. Olusegun. This thing, this loan defaulting thing, is not new.
It's not new.
About 2010 or so, the CBN attempted to begin to deal with it, and I think in 2013 they crystallized this credit bureau, thing. But how much was that able to achieve over the past few years?
Yeah, thank you. That's a very good question. Actually, the way I see it, is not the best decision to take. Now, the CBN and the banks are likely going to face legal and market risk. Now, legal risk in the sense that if you have a relationship with a bank and another relationship with the second bank, you will find it difficult to cross over to the other bank to lay hold of the deposit. And the cost will be filled up, I can assure you. It's going to be chaotic.
Well, this announcement was made by the bankers committee with the CBN. You think it will be hard for these banks to come together and say, okay, there's an account we have of this person in my bank, so here you go, take the money from them.
But he just rightly mentioned that even the credit bureau had challenges here and there.
But I'm saying that it's a bankers committee now, so it's as though all the bankers or the banks are coming together to say, we are agreeing to this, so we'll work together to ensure this works.
Again, Yes, they all agreed, but will it work? What do you call it? AMCON came, and believe you me, it did not achieve the objective for which it was set up.
What are
Now,
the
we're talking
likely
about 3 trillion.
what are the likely obstacles that need to be confronted?
Yeah, like I said, that the defaulters are likely going to go to court.
That's one.
And you see, the court process in Nigeria is so, how would I put it?
But what would make it difficult for Bank A to collaborate or agree with Bank B that, look, this customer, our mutual customer, given the instrumentality of the BVN, is owing Bank A, so Bank B pay? Why would that be difficult?
Yeah, because you see, everything is relationship. He may be doing well in the other bank, and they don't see him as a bad customer. And now you now come to say this man is bad. The debtor will likely go to court.
Dr. Wan?
He will not agree.
I believe that this is still an evolution and evolving scenario. If the Nigerian banking system is able to automate their credit process system from the asset registry to the collateral to the identity of the individuals and warehoused, automated such that anywhere, even a non-banker can log on to the front end and see and profile a particular customer, how much you own here, how much you have here, and who you are, how much you have default in any loan. I think it will be easy. And a situation where the central bank is actually in the center of the whole thing, I don't see so much legal issue. And you remember that these banks and the CBN have maybe one of the best. They would have looked at the legal environment and the legal realities to be able to implement this. For me, it is a measure to deal with the moral deficit in the process of lending. But for me, that is still a tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
When you are dealing with, because less than 1%.
We'll need to explore this big iceberg a little further when we return from this break. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. Let's now try to explore this iceberg. Now, what is it that we're missing? What's the Nigerian missing?
Well, we're missing so many things. The CBN have a target that, as at February 2020, that through this process, banks would have been able to lend 13 billion naira to SMEs in Nigeria. What is 13 billion? An SME in Japan, one SME in Japan, their net asset is more than 13 billion if you convert to. So that is why I said it's a tip of the iceberg. We are talking about making sure that these institutions.
Sorry, doesn't that defeat the idea of small and medium enterprises if your net asset is 12 billion? But let's.
It depends on the corporation.
Then it's no more small and medium.
Big corporation in a country like Japan, like Toshiba.
So it's now a corporation. It's no more an SME.
Exactly. So, but what I'm trying to say here is that the money we're talking about is very small. And
the money we're talking about is very small.
Yeah, the 13 billion to Nigerian corporates, we're about 17.5 billion SMEs to start with. So I'm talking about that less than 1%, according to World Bank survey about 3 years, less than 1% of the loan or fund that these SMEs are using to run their businesses in Nigeria come from banks. So we're just discussing about 1%. The majority of them from friends and personal savings and even trade credit. The amount, trade credit is all these big companies, Unilever, I'm sorry for calling, give, can I say, their goods are sale, and, so it becomes a revolving loan. And
so you think this new policy will encourage MSMEs to access loans? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I believe it will encourage if we get it very right. And it will also encourage people to probably decide to pay back. But my major worry is that the reasons why MSMEs are not even to pay back loan, or even big corporations, except connected persons, insider loan, and vested interest, is because of the external challenge. Look at when we had the issue of moving exchange rates just overnight from 199 to 360. Of course, no matter your business model, you are out of business. And if you have a loan running, you can't pay. Over the last 3 years, logistics, moving goods from one place to the other, companies are spending about, logistic costs for businesses have risen by 53%.
Yes.
Security costs have, it's an issue. If your firm or whatever is capped by this issue of insecurity, herdsmen attacks and kidnapping, how are you going to deal with it? So there are things that even the CBN cannot solve. that will ensure that these loans are never paid back. And so that is why I say it's a tip of the iceberg. We need to actually look at the fundamental reasons why companies, why individuals are not even able to pay back this loan. And these are external factors to the business model that we need to deal with. And the starting point is cleaning up and cleaning out the ease
But
of
they
business.
promised to pay back at certain times. There were agreements signed that, look, this is when I'm going to pay, this is how I am going to pay. But let me even ask Mr. Olusegun, the rule of this new announcement by the Bankers Committee says loan defaulters.
Yeah.
To many people, that's a little, interesting. Who is a loan defaulter? Someone servicing a loan, or someone paying instrumentally, or who are we talking about here?
Someone who does not meet his or her obligations to the banks is a defaulter. But one thing
that also may be a little fluid. Is anyone who is servicing his loan as and when due, is that person a loan defaulter?
No.
Okay.
No. Now, they failed to take into consideration the fact that you cannot separate economic factors from financial factors. Now, like he rightly said, most of these problems are beyond the borrowers. For example, if you are running a school and the school has pupils whose parents are not being paid salary, how will they pay the school fees? And it's a meltdown. So all these economic factors have to be taken into consideration. But they are saying that once you can't pay, you'll be in trouble.
Yeah, but the point now is, look, if a business is not doing well and he has an account with a bank, meanwhile, that same business has another account elsewhere that is doing very, very, very well. That's the argument of the Bankers Committee, and I think they have that information. That, look, we know that you are defaulting in this bank that you took a loan from, but you are doing very well in this other bank, so we'll use money from here to settle this bank. That's, I think,
they have to still go back to court to get a garnishee order. The court has to permit them to even access the other deposit. And these are the complexities that will frustrate the success of the initiative.
So you think this might have a few challenges, but then another area is the fact that some are saying you probably should have involved customers also in this decision-making process. Do you think that will have changed anything?
That would have been great. That would have been great.
But we all know what the customers will say.
They should have carried along all the stakeholders, MAN, NASEMA, all of them. They should have had input in this.
When you say a loan defaulter, is there a limit to a minimum to how much the person would be owing a bank before they will say, we're going to take your money from other banks? Is there a limit?
The circular did not specify a limit. Yeah. So it's any amount. Once they say the loan is bad, then they go ahead.
But you have faulted you faulted the announcement in its entirety.
Yes, truly.
Does that mean that it is not a way to go? Yes. Attempts have been made in 2010, 2013, 2017, and all of that. Loan defaulting has been something recurrent as far as the CBN and a number of people in the financial industry is concerned. Yeah. But does that mean that it is something that cannot be dealt with?
There are better ways to deal with it. For example, in the past, they said we'll publish the names of all loan defaulters, and they did that. And, that even encouraged the defaulters not to pay back again. They said, you have disgraced me. All the papers carried my name, and people know that I'm a debtor. Then why are you coming back to me to repay? So it failed. Now, this time around, there are better ways. They can encourage the banks, or the banks can encourage themselves to work out, loan workout, they call it, whereby the terms for which the loans we are giving can be reviewed.
Let me ask you, Mr. Olusegun.
Yes.
Over the past 20, 30 years, how much can you estimate have been credited into what you call bad debts?
It's going to be virtually in trillions. In fact, it's a lot of money.
That definitely
and
is not...
it has the business in the economy that is not good. Because I've been the bank examiner and I know the problem businesses face. It's not easy, believe you me. And it's just, one can be excited that, oh, the defaulters are being hounded here and there, but what they face. And that's why I said...
We'll come back to those reasons, and I think Dr. Wani has mentioned. Okay. Now, bad debts running into trillions.
Currently, bad debts, non-performing loan in Nigeria is about 19% of total loan asset, which is huge.
Huge. I'm not talking about defaulting loans. Okay. Now, I'm talking about bad debts that we have said, no, these are unrecoverable over the past 20, 30 years.
And written out, like you said, it's in trillions, which is difficult to estimate.
Definitely, that is not a trend that can help any economy grow.
Exactly. And apart from that, we've seen heads roll up to the level of board and CEOs of banks. So the easiest way to sack a bank MD is through making sure that the bank run into crisis through non-performing loan. And for me, if the reasons why somebody is not paying back debt is moral issue, you know, there are capacity to pay and willingness to pay. You know, if you have deposits somewhere, you know, and the other side you've taken money and you are not servicing it, we've seen situations where people move money abroad, you just go and start building castle in your village when you don't even travel to, you know, every day. You know, so these are the issues they are trying to deal with, you know, but like I said, we have to be more holistic. He said, involve all stakeholders, come out with concrete circular and process, you know, something like a rule. If you're owing and we have met you, we've renegotiated, we've, you know, repackaged the loan, and after 6 months, you're not doing what you need to do. You know, it's important. Is CBN also going to ensure that our big men, the connected people, vested interest, insider-related loan, which is huge, that this type of issues cover that. You know, how are we going to deal with another moral side, which is smart? Nigerians are smart. You know, a lot of them will not have a tangible deposit in the other bank. They will go into jewelries, you know, other ways of holding assets, jewelries and ostentation.
Another
you know,
funny question.
Cash in dollar.
Another, you know, question anyone, you know, who is just informed about what goes into, you know, getting a loan would ask is, look, don't they have collaterals?
Thank you.
And if they have collaterals, why are we still talking about unrecoverable loans?
Yeah. Like the AMCON, let's take, for example, the AMCON situation. Some of the asset they seize or the loan that they picked from the banks have what can I say, guarantees such as collateral, you know, but at some point you find out that the collateral is not, the value of the collateral is not even enough to pay, but if you now load the interest and all of those things that were out, and the collateral may have even depreciated at that point. And again, when you have this type of, can I say, situation where a lot of assets go into the market as bad collateral at the same time, of course, the price of that asset, AMCOM have been trying to sell so many assets. No buyer. So it's a market situation, and it becomes a systemic risk, as the case will.
So I think you started by saying this is meant to handle the moral, you know, aspect of, you know, getting loans, ensuring that people are more responsive to paying back loans, so we don't have non-performing loans running into a huge percentage. Now, when the announcement was made, I understand that this new policy will be put into the expression of interest form for loans. Mm-hmm. So it's either you want it or not. But then, looking at the modality, do you think this should be backdated to people that are still defaulting on loans, or from now moving forward?
I think the CBN is the best person to answer question about the timeline. But if you're making a rule today, it should take effect from now on.
So what happened to that 19%?
The reason why this is coming up now is to at least back up CBN's rule or CBN policy that from September 1 or September 30, if I'm correct, that loan-to-deposit ratio of banks will now be kept at a minimum of 60%. Yeah. So they are putting other frameworks in place to ensure that banks are able to cope with this rule. And most of this loan will go into the real sector, agriculture, cottage industry, and all of those. But like I said before, the most important thing is to deal with the fundamental. This is a soft issue about moral, but the hard issue there is the business environment that is outside the control of the entrepreneur that were never envisaged when the loan is being taken. Some of them as a consequence of government policy, that were never envisaged. How do we deal with them?
You don't think that that was factored into the decision of the Bankers Committee?
How can you factor a situation where somebody opened fake a loan in 2015, and then interest exchange rate was 165?
Yeah.
And when he's going to pay back in 2017, his exchange rate have even gone to 400 and something. Before there is no type of you will run into problem. And in that case, in that type of situation, your assets that have backed up that loan cannot even do anything. So it becomes a systemic issue.
Okay, let's try and simplify this part of me. Now, this is a very tricky topic. Now, there's someone that needs a loan, and there's another body that is willing and able to offer that loan. And there are terms and conditions which, you put your signature to. At that moment, things look good. I mean, I've heard people, for example, I'm sure you borrowed people money and they'll tell you, you know what, I'll pay at the end of this month. And they promise heaven and earth. And at that moment, you as a borrower, would you want to hear, oh, I'm sorry, this happened. Oh, I'm sorry, the economy was not good. Do you think that's enough reason to say that I'm going to default on a loan? So you sort of understand why the Bankers Committee and the CBN are making this decision. And for example, some of those issues you raised are beyond their control. So isn't this putting them in a difficult position?
It's still a very difficult condition. That is why I said, if somebody is owing the bank and the loan is not performing, but he has a deposit somewhere, doing well, I support that you have to net off. But what if the person is owing and he doesn't have deposit anywhere that you can easily net off? We've seen situations, I've been in private sector for a while now, where a debtor say, okay, bank, please, there is even the one that called bank, I can't pay back again, come and take my factory, take these are my raw materials, these are my inventory, take it, and bank said, no, don't worry, we don't want to touch it. Because China have moved into the sector, and fake, substandard, a lot of things going on. The power, the source of power, a lot of things he cannot control.
Now, Mr.
So how is the bank going to handle such situations?
So what are these conditions that, the businesses now, say, go through, and how can that be helped by this new move of the Bankers Committee?
Well, this new rule, I can tell you straight away how it's going to be circumvented. I'm not playing the devil's advocate, but I can tell you most people go and open joint accounts.
So are you giving them ideas now?
Pardon?
Are you giving them ideas?
No. I'm just trying to preempt what people are likely going to do. Joint accounts. And if we have a joint account, then that means there's no way you can access my deposit. You see, I'm just thinking loud. Now, in addition to that, people will say, okay, CBN, what is your own experience? They say, oh, we gave 34 billion to the discos, and we can't recover it. They say, okay, what did you do to them? Believe me, they will ask Nigerians, they will ask such questions. 34 billion all recovered from the discos. So what moral right has the CBN got to begin to oppress the small scale and the other defaulters when they themselves cannot recover what they gave out to the discos? There are problems, we all know, and we have to be realistic, and that's why I mentioned the loan workout. Again, debtors can go and invoke the bankruptcy law. Do you know that? There's a bankruptcy law. If you can't pay back, you go to court. Court, please, I can't pay back. Protect me. And the hands of the banks are tied. Nobody can do anything about that. So I don't think they took all this into account before bringing out that policy. There's bankruptcy law.
Yes.
I believe that before you go to invoke the bankruptcy law, the issue CBN is dealing with would have been resolved, because you can't go to bankruptcy law where you are owing A and you have so much money in B. Do you understand? So that doesn't apply with due respect. But like I said, when CBN is contemplating this and before it becomes well operational, I just want to use this platform to remind them that we Nigerians are smart.
Yeah.
He spoke about joint account now.
Yeah.
Consider that. I spoke about Nigerians keeping money in form of jewelry, keeping money in hard assets, such as dollar, pound sterling, and so this will encourage a lot of, and how much impact will it have on this financial inclusion that we're targeting 80% for Nigeria to be 80% financially inclusive in the year 2024. So these are the issues we really need to deal with. But to deal with the moral issue, the moral deficit that you have money in bank here and you are enjoying yourself, and you are, that money bank have given to you belongs to even your brothers and sisters, and it's affecting the country in one way or the other.
Okay.
And we can't encourage such fraud.
Going forward, what does who do is what we'll be wrapping up with in a few seconds. Please stay with us. It's our concluding moment on the program this morning, and we still have our guests, but they say a point that the Bankers Committee made is they decided that vital information should be demanded from bank borrowers, such as BVN, TIN. Does that mean that those information weren't received before the loans were given in the first place?
These are basic information. Even ordinary 10,000 naira deposit account have a BVN. So
for the bankers to say this, that means that there could be people who received loans without this information.
Well, if there are, they should correct that. But what I understand is that the BVN environment still needs some little, can I say, cleanup. We see people that have opened a BVN with maybe name X and Y in so bank, but in the other bank, their name is X, Y, and Z. So a little bit cleanup in the name matching of the BVN. Some people answer two names or have a way of making their first name in so bank become their surname in the other bank. I think that is the area. But for some time now, you cannot really do anything in bank. You can put money in bank, but you cannot remove it if you don't have BVN, and I don't think it's an issue. If it's a corporate account, the TIN number is demanded even before the account is opened. So
okay, now, Mr. Olusegun, what do you advise any loan defaulter to do now,
apart from paying back?
Apart from paying back, it will ask for a loan workout and realistically carry your bank along. And you see,
when you say a loan workout, what are you talking about?
A loan workout, review the terms.
Because that's what I think Dr. Wani mentioned the other time, that the terms were reviewed, yet some of them were not able to pay back.
No, they must be sincere, or otherwise they'll be blacklisted, and credit rating should be brought into the picture, whereby customers are rated, so that anywhere they go, that rating can be used to advance them loans. And the banks also need to improve on their risk management, believe you me. Due diligence, know your customers, and so on and so forth. And I know there are a lot of bad eggs in the banking industry.
Sometimes some people, are giving loans on personal recognition because they are maybe public office holders and stuff like that.
Yeah, there should be policies, credit policies that must be strictly adhered to. Strictly adhered to. And there are bad eggs in the banking industry, and that is what has caused the problem. In my own experience over the past 35 years that I worked as an examiner, I know so many bad eggs who connive with even the customers. And that's why most customers don't want to pay back, because the bankers help them to pad these loans, and, over time, I'm being sincere with you. So the Bankers Committee, they need to look inwards, and weed out the bad eggs within the system.
Dr. Wani, final thoughts.
Okay, a lot of things need to do, but I believe that beyond the small money we're talking about, giving 13 billion to 10,000 SME over the next 6 months, CBN should go a little bit and can I say, also carry other enablers around. The Ministry of Works, Power, Trade and Investment Ministries.
Yeah.
See, SMEs, we need road, we need rail, we need power.
Yeah.
All of this factor inhibits ability to pay.
Truly.
So we need to enhance ability to pay by cleaning up a little bit the business environment, the ease of doing business, custom, SON, NAFDAC challenges.
Okay.
These things need to be addressed so that we can improve the ability to pay.
Okay.
The willingness to pay can be dealt with this new policy. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much for being a part of this conversation. Mr. Bandele Olusegun is a former bank examiner.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us, as well as Dr. Vincent Owani, business and investment consultant. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of this conversation. And that's Sunrise Daily this morning. Thanks for watching. I'm Ayo Makinde.
I'm Kayode Kikelu. Have a beautiful day.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on this program are those of the maker and do not reflect the views, opinions, and endorsement of Channels Television.